Okay, if you haven't heard yet, Apple did something big, and it's kind of something similar that they did a long time ago when they introduced the web. And this has something to do with Google. And if you've done your research, you probably know what I'm talking about. If not, let me catch you up to speed. Apple and Google have been teaming up for what is going to be Apple's new Apple Intelligence, Apple's AI. So Apple did come out with Google and share that they are doing this, but they didn't really do anything else. They kind of keep it more down low because they are buying Gemini from Google. So this is something they want to use, but keep on the down low so people don't know. For the longest time, Siri has been trash. You know that. You're probably using an iPhone, or if you haven't used an iPhone, you probably heard of how bad Siri is. It can maybe give you directions somewhere, or maybe add 2 + 2 = 4, or maybe, have Siri set an alarm for you. There's a lot of different things that Siri does that's super simple, but anything outside that, it's really bad. And then in 2023, Apple introduced Apple AI, Apple Intelligence, and they had these big claims. They'll be able to, remember what you say, do all these sorts of things. But as you know, Apple is a privacy company. And so it's a little bit harder for them to do those sort of things. And we have not had anything good with Apple Intelligence. For the last couple of years, we've had the integrated ChatGPT, and that's kind of about it. And so Apple needs to step up their game. So they've teamed up with Google. And Google, as you know, has their own AI. It's called Gemini. And Gemini's it's been pretty good. It's got all the backed data that Google's had for the longest time, since they obviously are Google. They have a whole bunch of data from all these past years from people looking stuff up. And so it's kind of interesting to see that Apple is teaming up with them. They did do something similar back in the day when the whole web thing came out. They used them instead of making their own sort of software for it, or back end. But now, again, they are using Google's LLM. So they're basically like almost leasing the LLM to be able to put it into these iPhones so that we as Apple users will be able to enjoy the experience of an AI that actually works. Now let's talk about some of the things that comes along with this. So Apple will be able to have the basic LLM, or AI model. So this basically means it's not necessarily going to be Gemini like branded on the iPhone, but it is going to have the Gemini base. So instead of Apple spending millions and millions of dollars into developing their own AI and researching, pulling data to train the AI, they're taking all that data that Google has already done, and they're taking that information and, well, basically buying that information. So they have now a basic model to work with. And then it gives Apple the flexibility to weave that into their AI, into their operating systems, so that it's still gonna have that Apple feel to it, which as an Apple user, you'll have no idea. You won't even notice that it's Google's thing. At least that's the hope, right? One thing to note is it's snowing outside, by the way. What this means is Apple will finally step into the AI game, but it's not going to be theirs. They're going to be using Gemini's AI, kind of. So when all this comes out, I'm sure Apple and their WWDC, or their annual meeting or announcement in June, they'll be able to talk about how AI can do all this, all that. So now they'll be able to finally do the things that they promised to do with their claims back in 2023. Because Apple Intelligence has not done really anything. It just, if it can't figure out what you want, it'll say, hey, do you want to ask ChatGPT? So I'm not really sure what's going to happen with ChatGPT now that it's going to be booted and Apple's buying Google's LLM so that they can integrate it into their own system. So it's going to be super interesting to see what happens here for Apple and with Google, and also ChatGPT. And I'll be making a video about them. Maybe it's a short, maybe it's a long form, but stay tuned for that. And it's good to know, as an Apple user, we will finally have an AI that will be good for the phone. So if you're excited for it, let me know down below in the comments, and maybe some features that you're hoping to see on the Apple Intelligence. And make sure you like, subscribe, and check out any other videos that you haven't seen yet. And we're looking to hit at least 1,000 subscribers this year. So if you want to join up, hit the follow, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.